Trying to rain on the thunder. Tell the storm I'm new. I'ma walk, I'ma march on the regular, painting white flags blue. Lord forgive me, I've been running blind and true. I'ma rain on this bitter love. Tell the sweet I'm new. Ooh, I'm telling these tears go and fall away, oh. May the last one burn into flames. Freedom, I can't move. Freedom, cut me loose, singing. Freedom, where are you? 'Cause I need freedom too. I break chains all by myself. Won't let my freedom rot in hell. Hey, I'ma keep winning 'cause a winner don't quit on themselves.
All right.
Come, you accidental pilgrims, you who find yourself on a journey of surprise and wonder. Come, you who emerge into this place as an act of liberation. Come, you who seek a life of mindfulness and a place to test your thoughts. Come, you who bring hearts of all kinds, heavy hearts, rusty hearts, hearts broken open in revelation, hearts full of love to share. Come, you who seek courage, and you who have more courage than you realize. Come, you who stand behind the curtain, gathering up the resources to claim your truth. Come, you who have been in a bubble, you who are poised for transformation. We begin our story again, gathering courage, love, mindfulness, and a sense of purpose. We gather as people of all ages, of different abilities, different backgrounds, and different perspectives. We share a covenant, a direction for our shared journey, and a commitment to encourage and challenge one another to spiritual growth. This path will ask much from us. Let us move forward with love. Let us move forward with appreciation for one another. Let us move forward knowing we are not alone. Whoever you are, whatever your gifts, you are welcome to join this journey. Please rise in body or spirit for the opening hymn.
Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There will be freedom in that land. There will be freedom in that land. Freedom in that land where I'm bound. There will be freedom in that land. There will be freedom in that land. There will be freedom in that land where I'm bound. Justice. There will be justice in that land. There will be justice in that land. Justice in that land where I'm bound. Well, there will be justice in that land. There will be justice in that land. There will be justice in that land where I'm bound. Take it home. There will be singing in that land. There will be singing in that land. There will be singing in that land where I'm bound. There will be singing in that land. There will be singing in that land. There will be singing in that land where where I'm bound.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge. My name is Stiles Thompson. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm so glad to see all of you here today on this brand new morning and this brand new world as we gather together in peace. Thanks for joining us. We who bring a teaching of hope, we who bring a saving message, who welcome all in our doors, the joyful, the heartbroken, atheists and Christians, Muslims and Jews, straight and gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, all who are searching, seeking, looking for more meaning, more service, more love. I'd like to welcome any guests we have today. Thank you for taking a chance and taking the time to walk through our doors and join us for worship. There's a few announcements this morning. Middle hour adult programs for this week. The Faith and Practice in room 5 is off this week. And Faith and Exploration, room 6, also off this week. Social Justice Subteam will meet in room 7 on climate justice. Also, there's a table back there to register to vote. It's with the VOTE, V-O-T-E, subgroup of social justice. It's wanting to increase voter turnout, both locally and in other states, for the November election. So sign up at the vote table outside. And, oh, one more. The male bonding retreat is just 2 weeks away at Hilltop Arboretum on Highland. It'll be Saturday, June 8th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. If you identify as male, masculine, gender nonconforming, and like to fish, meditate, or explore the natural landscapes at the Arboretum, we hope to see you there. Please contact Reverend Chris or Nathan to let us know you're coming. We are ordering a light lunch this week. Thanks again for joining us in worship.
Good morning. One thing I have observed, when we are engaged in acts of love, we are at our best and most resilient. The love and romance that makes us want to be better people. The love of children that makes us change our whole lives to meet their needs. The love of family that makes us drop everything to take care of them. The love of community that makes us work tirelessly with broken hearts. Perhaps our core function is love. Love leads us to observe in a much deeper way than any other emotion. I think of how delightful it is to see something in my new lovers' faces, something they may only know from inside as a feeling. If love were the central practice of a new generation of organizers and spiritual leaders, it would have a massive impact on what was considered organizing. If the goal was to increase love, rather than winning or dominating a constant opponent, I think we could actually imagine liberation from constant oppression. We would suddenly be seeing everything we do, everyone we meet, not through tactical eyes of war, but through eyes of love. We would see that there's no such thing as a blank canvas, an empty land, or a new idea, but everywhere there is complex, ancient, fertile ground full of potential. We would organize with the perspective that there is wisdom and experience and amazing story in the communities we love, and instead of starting up new ideas and organizations all the time, we would want to listen support, collaborate, merge, and grow through fusion, not competition. We would understand that the strength of our movement is in the strength of our relationships, which could only be measured by their depth. Scaling up would mean going deeper, being more vulnerable, and more empathetic.
Today we have a card for Reverend Barbara Carlson, who is currently in memory care at Sunrise Assisted Living. We also have 3 Singing the Living tradition hymnals for our high school graduates. Please sign those. They're back on the table. Once upon a time, chemists believed they could transfer lead into gold or death into life. Are we not also in the business of alchemy? Turning loneliness into connection, pain into comfort, anger into solidarity, and faith into action. The subtle magic of church combines love and justice, creates hope out of fear, transforms individuals into community. Here we engage in a holy alchemy through our stones ritual, finding beauty in the ordinary and life in the present. We invite those who wish to hold space for joy or care in their lives to come along the east or west aisles or in the middle if it's more convenient, and place a stone around our chalice. Visitors are welcome to participate as well. And now, placing of stones. Where are the words? Who's going to put them? Okay. Yeah, I don't. There we go. With hope to make this a better world, we light this flame. This light is a symbol of the power of love.
From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land, by every tongue.
Good morning. My name is Leslie Grover, and I am a member of your worship guild as well as a member of the Preacher Pack, OG edition. So the first part of this sermon, I'm going to read you a story. Second part of the sermon, I'm going to break it down. And third part of the sermon today, we're going to work together to create the sermon. So how many of you, and this is a safe space, how many of you have ever heard that black people used to be able to fly, or that black people could fly, or that Africans could fly? Yeah. Right? That was actually a thing back in the day. And I'm going to be reading to you that story as the first part of this sermon, as I said before. But there were many circles across the African diaspora and in non-diaspora places that actually believed that black people could fly. And it's been passed down, at least among black Americans, from generation to generation. It's a secret, suppressed gift. And I even heard it from my ancestors. And while this myth has evolved over the years, it continues to be a source of imagination that depicts freedom, futures, and for many returning to Africa. Where it came from, many think, is something that happened at Igbo landing, where Nigerians who were brought here to be enslaved, and the enslaved were often shackled together with 20-pound weights in pairs. But rather than be enslaved in the New World, they walked out into the sea and drowned and disappeared. So that's really where that comes from. And so I would imagine to those who saw them one moment and didn't see them the next, that would be a form of flying away, that you could see that in flying away. So that's really how flight became this secret language for runaway slaves and the enslaved. But I just want to remind you that Toni Morrison said, the one thing you can say about a myth is that there's some truth in there, no matter how bizarre they may seem. So what is the truth? I'm going to read you the story. The People Could Fly. And this is by Virginia Hamilton. They say the people could fly. Say that long ago in Africa, some of the people knew magic, and that they would walk up on the air like climbing up on a gate. And they flew like blackbirds over the fields, black, shiny wings flapping against the blue up there. Then many of the people were captured for slavery. The ones that could fly shed their wings. They couldn't take their wings across the water on the ships, too crowded. The folks were full of misery, got sick with the up and down of the sea, so they forgot about flying when they could no longer breathe in the sweet scent of Africa. Say the people who could fly kept their power, although they shed their wings. They kept their secret magic in the land of slavery. They looked the same as other people from Africa who had been coming over, who had dark skin. Say you couldn't tell anyone who could fly from one who couldn't. One such who could fly was an old man. We're gonna call him Toby. And standing tall yet afraid was a young woman who once had wings. We're gonna call her Sarah. Now Sarah carried a babe tied to her back. She trembled to be so hard worked and scorned. The slaves labored in the fields from sunup to sundown. The owner of the slaves, calling himself their master, say he was hard as a lump of clay, a hard, glinty coal, a hard rock pile, wouldn't be moved. His overseer on horseback pointed out the slaves who were slowing down. So one that called driver cracked his whip over the slow ones to make them move faster. That whip was a slice open cut of pain. So they did move faster. Had to. Sarah hoed and chopped the row as the baby on her back slept. Say the child grew hungry. The babe started up bawling too loud. Sarah couldn't stop to feed it, couldn't stop to soothe it and quiet it down. She let it cry. She didn't want to. She had no heart. Keep that thing quiet, called the overseer. He pointed his finger at the baby. The woman scrunched low. The driver cracked the whip across the baby anyhow. The baby hollered like any hurt child, and the woman fell to the earth. The old man that was there, Toby, came and helped her to her feet. I must go soon, she told him. Soon, he said. Sarah couldn't stand up straight any longer. She was too weak. The sun burned her face. The baby cried. Pity me, sounded like. Sarah was so sad and starving, she sat down in the row. Get up, you black cow, said the overseer. He pointed his hand, and the driver's whip snarled around Sarah's legs. Her sack dress tore into rags. Her legs bled onto the earth. She couldn't get up. Toby was there. No one was there to help her and the baby. Now, before it's too late, panted Sarah. Now, Father. Yes, daughter, the time has come, Toby answered. Go, as you know how to go. He raised his arms, holding him out to her. Kum yale, kum bubatambe, and more magic words, said so quickly they sounded like whispers and sighs. The young woman lifted one foot on the air, then the other. She flew clumsily at first, with the child now held tightly in her arms. Then she felt the magic, the mystery. She rose, just as free as a bird, as light as a feather. The overseer rode after her, hollering. Sarah flew over the fences. She flew over the woods. Tall trees could not snag her, nor could the overseer. She flew like an eagle now, until she was gone from sight. No one dared speak about it, couldn't believe it. But it was, because they that was there saw that it was. Say the next day was dead hot in the fields. A young man slave fell from the heat. The driver came and whipped him. Toby come over and spoke the words to the fallen one. The words of ancient Africa, once heard, are never remembered completely. The young man forgot them as soon as he heard them. They went away inside him. He got up and rolled over on the air. He rode it a while, and he flew away. Another and another fell from the heat. Toby was there. He cried out to the fallen and reached his arms out to them. Kum kankayale, kum tambe. Whispers and sighs. And they rose too on the air. They rode the high breezes. The ones flying were black and shining sticks, wheeling above the head over the overseer. They crossed the roads, the fields, the fences, the streams, and were away. Seize the old man, cried the overseer. I heard him say magic words. Seize him. The one calling himself master come running. The driver got ready to curl his whip around old Toby and tie him up. The slave owner took his hip gun from his place. He meant to kill old black Toby, but Toby just laughed, threw back his head and said, don't you know who I am? Don't you know who some of us are in these fields? He said it to their faces. We are the ones who could fly. And he sighed the ancient words that were a dark promise. He said them all around to the others in the field and under the whip, Bubayale, Bubatambe. There was a great outcrying. The bent back straightened up. Old and young who were called slaves and could fly joined hands. Say they would ring sing, but they didn't shuffle in a circle and they didn't sing. They rose on the air. They flew in a flock that was black against the heavenly blue. Black crows or black shadows, it didn't matter. They went so high, way above the plantation, way over slavery land. They say they flew away to freedom. And then the old man, old Toby, flew behind them, taking care of them. He wasn't crying. He wasn't laughing. He was the seer. His gaze fell on the plantation where the slaves who could not fly waited. Take us up with you. Their looks spoke it. But they were afraid to shout it. Toby couldn't take them with him. Hadn't the time to teach them to fly. They must wait for a chance to run. Goodbye. The old man Toby spoke to them, poor souls, and he was flying, gone. So they say. The overseer told it. The one called master said it was a lie, a trick of the light. The driver kept his mouth shut. The slaves who could not fly told about the people who could fly to their children. When they were free, when they sat close to the fire in the free land, they told it. They did so love firelight and freedom and telling. They say that the children of the ones who could not fly told their children. And now me, I have told it to you. And now, please rise in body or spirit as we sing our next hymn, Over My Head. And while you're standing, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. I'm gonna teach you how to fly today.
Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Sit over my head, I hear singing in the air. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. There must be a God somewhere. I said over my head, I see trouble in the air. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I feel gladness in the air. You feel it? Over my head, I feel gladness in the air over my head. I feel gladness in the air. There must be a God somewhere.
We are not responsible for your lost or stolen relatives. We cannot guarantee your safety if you disobey our instructions. We do not endorse the causes or claims of people begging for handouts. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. Your ticket does not guarantee that we will honor your reservations. In order to facilitate our procedures, please limit your carrying on. Before taking off, please extinguish all smoldering resentments. If you cannot understand English, you will be moved out of the way. In the event of a loss, you better look out for yourself. Your insurance was canceled because we can no longer handle your frightful claims. Our handlers lost your luggage, and we are unable to find the key to your legal case. You were detained for interrogation because you fit the profile. You are not presumed to be innocent if the police have reason to suspect you're carrying a concealed wallet. It's not our fault if you were born wearing a gang color. It is not our obligation to inform you of your rights. Step aside, please, while our officer inspects your bad attitude. You have no rights we are bound to respect. Please remain calm, or we can't be held responsible for what happens to you. Please rise. Please rise for the hymn. Jacob's Ladder.
You can remain seated for this if you like. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing on. Every round goes higher and higher. Every round goes higher and higher. Every round goes higher and higher. We are climbing home. Though the road is steep and rugged, though the road is steep and rugged, though the road is steep and rugged, we are climbing home. We do not know others' troubles. Oh, we do not know others' troubles. We do are climbing home. If I stumble, will you help me? If I stumble, will you help me? If I stumble, will you help me? We are climbing on.
Tightly tucked away in the bows of ships, captive Africans labored to breathe. They endeavored to live. Annotated slave ship maps detailed how to pack human cargo most efficiently into the cramped holds. So, the regulation of the Slave Trade Act of 1788, for example, permitted the British slave ship Brooks to carry 454 captives. The allocated space for each person was apportioned as 6 feet by 1 foot 4 inches to each man. Is there anybody in here 6 feet tall? Can I have one of you come up? Just want to show you. Thank you so much, Aaron. We appreciate you. How tall are you? Just 6 feet tall. That's about as much room as men had. Each woman, sister, come up, please, was about 5 foot 10 inches to each woman. And you're about that tall, about 5'10", 5'11". And for reference, I'm 5'8". Thank you. And then it was 5 feet by 1 inch to each child. Okay. So during those illegal voyages, remember, it was 454 people of the heights that we showed for each one. During the ships, they packed upwards of 600 Africans at once. So think about understanding that both as an African who sees people going to the New World, who understood that, but also as one being enslaved with that. The closeness of that space, the heat of the climate just added to the crowdedness, and they were almost suffocated. In response to those conditions, there was a song. And I'm gonna give you some of the lyrics because you heard it in this story. Kum baba yale, kum baba tambe, kum kunkayalki, kum kunkatambe. And then there was flight. That's roughly what that translates to, that very rough. As many of you know who may speak another language, there are some words that don't translate to English. And because we do lean into coloniality as members of this empire that we're in, we expect everything. Well, what does that mean in English? Not everything has a meaning in English. So when we start to think about decolonizing languages and decolonizing spaces and letting go of some of our coloniality, remember that not everything can have an English translation, but you can understand that emotion, you can understand that cramped space, and that kum baba yale, kum baba tambe, kum kunkayaki, kum kunkatambe. Okay. The flying African, the story I told you, embodies resistance by asserting that enslaved men and women were not ultimately bound to chain or shackle, but instead were free to challenge the constraints of enslavement and the very limits of human capability. That's the whole thing about being able to fly. In our story, I always wondered still, what about the people who couldn't fly away? Why are they still here? Well, y'all, listen. I'm a researcher and I'm a storyteller and I write historical fiction. I wanted to know the answer to this question. Blew my mind. Lots of research says it's because of salt. That when black people got to the New World and they ate salt, it took away their ability to fly. And that's not so weird because medically speaking, those who are of African descent have a predisposition to experiencing harmful effects of salt. There's a genetic predisposition. Seriously, it is. You can look it up. It's something about the way that our kidneys don't rid our bodies of salt as quickly as those with other genetic profiles. Yeah. And also, some of you who probably didn't notice, but those who spend time for me, you may have noticed that I have on my right foot a tattoo of a feather that's tied around my ankle. This is what this represents. This is what this is for. This feeling of justice, this understanding, this freedom to honor that legend of being able to fly and being able to understand. That story was passed down to me. I was told that until I was fully 11 years old. I thought black people could fly and would have tried had my mother not taken the ladder away and was like, Eugene, this child cannot climb onto the roof. But I did climb trees. And I did sit in them, and I really thought that. And I'm telling you now, at my big age, that whole thing about salt has not left me. So if y'all ever see me somewhere, I'm not gonna jump. I fully believe that I'm gonna fly. So social justice tells us that black voices and other marginalized voices for whom enchantment and mystery are a very real and important part of our culture have often been overpowered by other voices and called superstition and called silliness and called foolishness, or in some other cultures, old wives' tales, that type of thing. But those stories, regardless of whether or not you share African ancestry with me, help us to rewrite trauma. They give us wings and the hope that we need to overcome. So the flying African, the feather on my foot, the thinking that we're gonna be doing a little bit later is a way for us to honor and make space for not just maybe the traumas that we faced and we're still working through, but also the hope for the future that we can build together, the hope that is to come. But, you know, as I tell you all, I'm from the Mississippi Delta, and you know that the true place of blues, you all seem to, thank you, you all seem to have a problem with that in this church, so I'm just tell you, this is where blues was born. Now don't argue with me. Don't argue, I'll fight about it. I really want y'all to think, suppose black people really could fly. Just suppose we could. And take it a step further. What if this community right here, what if Unitarians could fly? What if Unitarians could fly? I mean, why can't we talk about that happening? You know? In just a minute, we're going to talk about that happening. But first, we'll have the offertory.
Every week in our church, we take up an offering. It's good to remind ourselves from time to time that the offering is symbolic as well as practical. We know that we could easily submit those pledge checks to the church at any time, but we pass the basket during our worship service to make a community expression of gratitude for a blessing. Our offering says that the act of giving is as essential to our spiritual well-being as anything else we do here on Sunday mornings. Each month we share half the cash offerings with an organization in the community. This month we share that offering with Youth Oasis. This is a spiritual practice for us, and visitors need not feel obligated to give. The morning offering will now be given and received in the spirit of grateful fellowship. Ushers, please come forward.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. We're building up a world, and I'm gonna let it shine. We're building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Okay. So honestly, when we think about flying, we need to ask ourselves two important questions. The first is, and I want you to sit with these, what do we value? What do we value? What do you value? And second, what do we need to consider about our community so that the marginalized may flourish? So one thing that this requires us to do, and this is one of the great powers of storytelling, this is one of the great powers of folklore, is that it allows us to see abundance even in times of despair. And I don't know about you, but lately there's been a lot of despair. I've felt a lot of despair. I've seen people around me carrying a lot of despair. But today we're going to lean into a little bit of abundance, just a little, maybe a lot, because we're all together and maybe our abundance can add up. In our story, the people valued freedom. They wanted desperately to go to a place where they could thrive and realize their personhood. And even though they were enslaved, there was certainly abundance. That's how I got the story. That's how Virginia Hamilton got that story. That's why we have so many of the things, including black people right now, that survived enslavement. I mean, look at us. There was community in the fields. There was nurturing of children and helping each other. There was an elder who held community knowledge, there was an elder who held community knowledge, encouragement, and wisdom. And to protect the vulnerable, there was the power of memory and words to speak to make flying happen. Kum Yale, Kum Buwatambe, which has many magical translations, as I told you. But generally speaking, it has to do with we shall fly, we will fly, we can fly. Dr. Evelyn Parker, in her work with marginalized communities, speaks of a concept called emancipatory hope. And she was working with youth who were in horrendous circumstances of despair, of abuse, of poverty, of spiritual abandonment, of deep, deep trauma. And yet, emancipatory hope is the expectation and the desire for something to happen that is active, transforming, and liberating. What could be more transformative, liberating, and active than flying? So Parker gives us a process for emancipatory hope, and we're going to lean into emancipatory hope today as we think about how we want to fly. There are 4 elements to emancipatory hope, to flying, if you will. First is forgiveness. The second is fellowship. The third is fortitude. And the 4th is freedom. Forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't just saying sorry and moving on. Forgiveness requires the correct memory of events that took place. All right? It requires facing our history and talking about it in an honest way. It requires accountability from the party that caused harm, abuse, disloyalty, betrayal, unfaithfulness. Forgiveness invites us to move away from pain. Again, that's the power in our stories. Fellowship springs from forgiveness, and it invites us to commune with ourselves, with each other, with God, with others who have similar and dissimilar experiences. Fellowship moves away from just us spending time together, but it evolves into companionship, intimacy, friendship. Fortitude is the ability to keep going even in the face of insurmountable odds. It's a way of making a way out of no way. It's making $1 out of 15 cents. Fortitude in emancipatory hope is also embodied. That means enduring assaults on our bodies, spirits, and character. It means that if you're peacefully protesting and the police come to stand over you, fully armed in military gear, or they attack you, or if someone who disagrees with you runs over you in the crowd or shouts nasty things at you, it means that you embody that strength. It means that you're able to stand and withstand. And that means that whether the assault is on your body, your spirit, or your character, it could be as simple as someone saying things that are untrue about you. Oh, black people are the reason that we have crime, so if we start a city without black people, we won't have any crime. I'm not gonna say nothing. Finally, we move to freedom. Now, this is what y'all been waiting on to know. That's the capacity of an individual to focus on what is hoped for while negotiating the ups and downs of life. Freedom is a mindset that honors our sense of self and recalibrates all the imbalances that are caused by attacks on our personhood. Freedom is personal, but freedom is also social. When we're all unified on how we see freedom, we can become a force for liberation. When we treat freedom as a community effort, rather than our individual right to say whatever we want to say, carry a weapon if we want to carry a weapon, say something about this person that we don't like, when we see it as a community effort, we can defy spiritual, physical, and psychological depression and oppression in the mind and the body. To make that happen, though, we need two important ingredients. The first is a clear identity, practicing our core values and beliefs. That goes back to the question that I asked you to sit with. What do we value? Who are we? Who are we as Unitarians? Who are we as people, as a part of this faith community? Who are we as people in our local community? Who are we as people in our families? Who are we? The second is agency. We need the agency to develop resources for economics, political and social stability, and to imagine and expect the dismantling of oppressive system. This is what empowers us to create and co-create the realities of what we want to see. In other words, no great force to come down from the sky and change people's hearts and minds, but rather us doing the work. Heaven now, heaven here, heaven among us that we create. So I go back to my statement. We can fly if that's the reality we want to create. But if we're gonna fly, y'all need feathers. I got my feather on my foot. It's with me all the time. So today, what I would like for us to do, and I'm gonna ask Styles and Sister, they're going to come into the audience and they're going to give you pens. Oh, the ushers are here too. Please help. Thank you. I thought y'all, I didn't even look. Thank you. We're going to make sure that everyone has pens and sticky notes. So we're going to, because y'all got to have a feather to fly, right? I mean, we can get as magical as we want to, but you got to have a feather or something. Okay. So everybody take one sticky note and a pen if you need something to write with. And as you're taking your sticky notes and your pen, I want you to think of one thing that you want to see and that you expect to see in this community. And I want you to write it on that sticky pad. Now you can write it, you can make it whatever you want to. You can write it as a word. You know, you can draw it as a feather. You can draw it as a feeling. You can draw it as a symbol. Or if you don't have the words for it, you could just let that blank sticky be all the emotion that you hold and you carry. But I invite you to do that. And think, what do you value? Who are we? Who are you? How do you want to show up in this world? How do you want to fly? Take your time. Take your time. Yes. The question can just be, who are you? Who are we? What do you want to fly to? What do you expect to see? What do you expect to see in the future? Or what kind of world do you want to build? Any of those things. Or just how are you feeling in this moment, carrying what you're carrying? What would you fly away to? What would you fly from? You can put anything on your sticky note because your sticky note is your feather. And now, as you're finishing up, as you're holding that, I just want to invite you into a moment of stillness and meditation. It's okay if you're still writing. It's okay if you're still thinking. But I just want to invite us into a moment of stillness together. To our ancestors, to those who came before us, thank you so much for your sacrifices. Thank you so much for your love and your stories. Thank you so much for the ability to fly. Help us remember. Amen. And now, as we're preparing for our closing hymn, I want you to wear your feather. So stick your feather on. And with this closing hymn, after the benediction, we gonna fly out of here. Please rise for our closing hymn.
When we are singing, we are bound together. When we are sharing, we are free to be. Both in our singing and in our sharing, we are bringing change. We are making peace. Through times of trouble, through times of pain, we offer healing like a gentle rain. Both in our healing and in our caring, we are bringing change. We are making peace when we are helping. When we are helping, we can be our best. When we are loving, hurt is put to rest. Both in our helping and in our loving,
In each of our hearts, there is a most glorious flight. Go forth and let sparks help you understand what troubles both you and others. Go forth and let light of reason be a guide in your decisions. Go forth and bring rays of hope to those in need of help in both body and spirit so that they may find healing. Go forth and fan the flames of passion to help heal our world. Go forth and spread the warm glow of love, pushing back the darkness of the world. Go forth and share your glorious light as you fly over the world. And remember, fly safely, y'all.